I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. I hope everyone is feeling as refreshed as I am this new year. Things seem to be clicking. I feel like I just have this internal happiness, this internal motivation and energy that is renewed since the new year. Maybe it's just because we're all feeling better. Finally, there's no broken legs or colds going through our home. So fingers crossed, and wishing you all as much health and happiness as we have got going on over here. So I want to read you a DM. I got this yesterday. Help, I copied this from one of your Instagram posts and I don't know what to do. I'm happily married for 8 years and I meet every single criteria in your post. I'm not sure exactly what happened because my husband and I function as a great team, but the spark has left our relationship. I don't feel like having sex. I'm getting DMs like this daily. Whether you are the higher drive partner and your husband doesn't want as much intimacy as you, or whether you are the low drive partner and don't care if you ever have sex ever again, this is a massive issue in health, in relationships that we need to tackle. So if you're one of the 1 in 2 women that experiences sexual dysfunction, how do we start dropping that number? That is my mission. That is why I was put on this planet. And the answer is not what you might think. It's often not lingerie. It's often not feeling better about your body by losing weight or getting the filler or trying a new sex position. All of these things are amazing, but they're definitely not they're not getting us the result that we want. When we buy the lingerie, when we get the filler and we still feel empty inside, we still don't feel attractive, we still don't feel happy. When we try the new position and it's still awkward and the elephant is still in the room in our relationship, what do? We need to start figuring out the kind of sex we want and know how to ask for it. I want to let you in on a little secret. Women want sex that's good for them. So, because men are not proportionately having the sexual dysfunction that women have. So we need to really look at what's going on here. Sex is a reward system. When you're rewarded with the kind of sex that you enjoy, that feels good for you, you want more of it. Big surprise. Who wants more of something that doesn't feel great, doesn't work for them, or causes them pain, stress? If the sex that you are having is constantly leaving something to be desired, physically, emotionally, then you're not going to want to have it. You're going to rather scroll Instagram, drink wine, eat cake, because we're getting our dopamine elsewhere. We're getting our dopamine, we're getting our oxytocin from other sources. I don't know if you can hear, but my daughter is getting her dopamine by running around shrieking downstairs. So hopefully that's not picking up. We grow up with these messages and stories about what sex should be like. We see it on TV. We read it in novels, or it's our fairy tales. The man sweeps the woman off her feet. They kiss, they make passionate love, everybody comes. But the facts are that this just isn't how sex works for most people with vulvas. If you are getting movie-worthy sex scenes in your daily life, which I really doubt you are because it's not reality, because that's not how most women's bodies work, where there's some, moment of despair and all is lost. And then next thing you know, the man comes and they're kissing passionately. Maybe there's a little bit of oral or manual stimulation. We're starting to see that more on TV, but basically the main event is penetration and then mutual orgasm. And if that is what your idea of sex is, that needs to be changed, because you are not broken. What you have been taught sex is, that's the broken part. The script we've been given is wrong. And that's why 1 in 2 women have sexual dysfunction. So here's a list of 4 things that Hollywood gets wrong about sex, and how, as a person with a vulva, you can start having better sex for you. And if it's better sex for you, it's better sex for your partner. Because, also I'm going to let you in on a little secret, ladies. If your man is constantly wanting sex, it could be because you're going through the motions, you're performing, and that's kind of like a fake energetic currency. A man can tell when you're really into it and you're really enthusiastic about it, or he can tell if you're just trying to check the box off the, check sex off the to-do list. And that leaves something to be desired. Like, you would both be searching for more connection in those cases. So you're having sex, you're ticking the box, but it's empty sex. So, and vulvas don't want empty sex. Vulvas crave fullness. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the 4 things that Hollywood gets wrong. Number 1, responsive desire. The big screen portrays sex as this spontaneous rush of desire that you can't ignore. You have to have him now. But in real life, if you're waiting around for the lightning to strike, it's not going to happen. Especially when you are stressed, overwhelmed, you have kids at home because you are in Ontario and you are going to your 3rd, 4th, 5th, who knows, lockdown. Or you are successful at your career and you manage people at home, you manage people at work. These stress responses shut down our body's desire pathways. It is a brake on the pleasure centers in our brain. So we need to stop thinking of desire as something that has to happen to you, like that moment of passion. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being swept up in a moment of passion. And these are especially common at the start of relationships, which I unpack why in my book, The Pink Canary. So if you want to deep dive on the neurochemicals of that new relationship energy, you can find it in The Pink Canary. So we need to stop thinking about desire as something that has to happen to us and start thinking about it as something that we need to cultivate. So let's think of it like this. You might not want to go to the party. You might not want to go to the gym, but once you get there, you know you're going to have a great time, or you know you're going to feel really good and energized. Number 2, the arousal cycle. Hollywood teaches us that sex follows a linear process. You kiss, you get turned on, you have penetrative sex, everyone has an orgasm. Our arousal cycles don't actually work like this. We can get turned on or off or be neutral at any point in the cycle. And who has had that where, we're working at getting turned on, we start to get turned on, and then something happens and our turn on, our desire is gone, it vanishes. That's not linear, but it is normal. So consider these examples that aren't good by Hollywood sex standards, but may shift your perspective and open opportunities for some great sex. Things are getting hot and heavy, you're enjoying it, you're warming up, you're getting turned on, you're opening, you're relaxing, and something happens to interrupt the arousal cycle. Phone rings, kids call your name or come home unexpectedly. In the movies, that would be the end of that. But if you think of the arousal as a cycle, you can jump back into the cycle once you address the thing that interrupted your desire, and you can return to a satisfying sexual experience. So if we normalize these interruptions and we normalize desire as something that ebbs and flows, especially with women, then we can expect it. It could be a conversation of like, babe, I love you. I love this. I love what's going on. I really, really need to take this call, but let's continue where we left off in 20 minutes. And then, if you are the one that left the situation, please be the one to honor your word and return and initiate. And who has problems initiating? Let me know, because I feel like that would be a great podcast. A lot of the women that I work with struggle to initiate, also because they haven't been taught. So send me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Jordin Wiggins if you would like to know more about initiating, and I will do a podcast on that. A client of mine thought that something was wrong with her because she never wanted sex. But it turned out when her partner did things that turned her on, cleaned the kitchen, drew her a bath, put the kids to bed, she was able to respond in the right environment, in the right context with arousal, because she felt cared for. It gave her the space to relax, and it started to get her in that mode. It started to get her out of mom mode, and it started to get her into like partner turn on mode. And a lot of us have trouble switching gears because our roles, wife, mother, are so well ingrained and like very rigid and very linear. So it's hard for us to flow between them, to be a wife who is also hot as hell and desires sex and brilliant and good at her job and successful in her career. It's hard for us to feel like we are worthy of having all of those at once. And I would also like to mention that for other women, their partners doing these things, cleaning the kitchen, drawing them a bath, bringing them flowers, if those behaviors are done because they expect sex in return, then it can be a turn off for them. So when I'm talking and when I'm using these examples, if it doesn't apply to you, that's completely okay. Don't think, oh no, I'm broken, all hope is lost, because these things are very nuanced and they're very individual. So for some women, husbands picking up the slack, that's their love language. They feel cared for, time to relax, and it allows them to start getting turned on. And for others, if it's like, if their partner's doing those things as an exchange of currency, and it's like, well, what the hell? You're only doing this not because you want to, but because you expect something in return. Nah, as my 14-month-old daughter would say repeatedly, because this is brand new for her, no, no, no. Number 3, penetration is the only way to have sex. You've probably heard me talk about this one before, but it is such a pervasive belief that we need to talk about it over and over and over again. Penetration is not the only way to have sex. We need to expand our definition of sex. And if we believe that we have not had sex if a penis was not in a vagina, then, oh my goodness, are you and your relationship and your health missing out? Number 4, sex is sex is sex. Movies and TV treat sex as a separate entity. A couple can be fighting, not even like each other, do something like shitty to one another, and come together and have really great sex. In reality, sex is a little more nuanced than that. It's multifaceted for most women. And the reason is it's tied to safety, relationship security, stress, depression and anxiety. So we can't fix our low libido by just looking at low libido. We need to look at the whole picture. Your relationship with yourself, your upbringing, your history of abuse, your communication styles, your body image and self-esteem. How safe do you feel in your relationship? This is why you cannot trust anyone who says they are going to solve your libido issues with a pill, supplements, blood work. All of these things help, and they help us rule out the cause, but this is such a multifactorial problem. Do not believe anyone. I mean, I'm sure you've tried it. I'm sure you've bought the supplements or tried to eat the diet that is supposed to fix your low libido. And while that is a piece of the puzzle that is low libido or missing that connection or spark in your relationship, it's not the whole thing. So we need to start making an effort to have the kind of sex that's worth having, not the kind that you see on TV, and watch what happens to your libido and your turn on. Hope that that was helpful. Want you to know that you are not broken. What you have been taught is. Try reading my book, The Pink Canary, for a more in-depth look at the patterns and cycles of sex and how you can start making changes for better sex and relationships. The work starts with you. This journey is all about learning about ourselves, our bodies, not trying to make our bodies function like the movies, function like a man's body. Because a vulva and our arousal cycles with a vulva is a little different than someone with a penis. And that's the beauty of it. So instead of us trying to make our bodies work like man's bodies, we need to learn more about our bodies. And I love helping women do that. We have to stop trying to fit into a mold that was not created for us. If you want to learn more about cultivating a fulfilling and satisfying sex life, join us on February 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm hosting a free live event. You can register at thepleasurecollective.com/better event. Have a great week, everybody. If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.